Hey everyone. Trying to get some more videos out to those of you who have asked some questions. This one, there's a team that was asking about pulling popcorn out. So I wanted to show you kind of a quick way to do this. You can see here in the scene, we've got a bucket with kind of a popcorn mound in it sitting on a table. And we've got our player prefab in the scene right in front of the table. And so what we want to do is have the player reach out, grab the popcorn, have it spawn some popcorn, have them pull it to their mouth, and then have it disappear with them basically making a like an eating noise. So what I think we're going to do here is, so we have this popcorn mound. I'm going to add, so in addition to the sphere collider, mesh renderer, and sphere, we're going to add the interactable component and set our activation to default. And then we're going to add the interactable hover events component, and we're going to say on hand hover begin. We want to effectively spawn a piece of popcorn. So in order to do that, we are going to add one more component, and it's called spawn and attach to hand. Now you'll see here this is asking for a hand and a prefab to spawn. So first off, for the hand, we are going to expand our player prefab. And you'll see here there's a left hand and a right hand. So I'm going to say go ahead and do the right hand. And you'll see here underneath there's this object attachment point. It's just a transform. You can play around with that. If you look at the prefab itself for the right hand, you can kind of play around with where that transform is for that object attachment point, but basically that's where the popcorn is going to come in. So we'll just leave that there for now. So back to our popcorn mound, we're going to drag this right hand in here, and you'll see that hand, right hand, great. So we can go ahead and minimize our player again. But now we need a prefab to spawn. So let's just make a fake thing of popcorn here. We'll do cube and duplicate that, rotate that, kind of something like so. And duplicate that one more time. Something like that. And so I'll right click, create empty, call this kernel, I can spell. Bring this into that empty and scale this down a bunch, a lot. And just for reference, I'm going to kind of pull it over by our bucket. And definitely going to scale it even more. And actually, I'm going to go into those cubes and remove those box colliders. We're just going to do one big one on the whole thing. So, and remove component. All right, so we've got a kernel here. I'm going to go ahead and I've got a yellow material that I made. I'll drag that onto each of these cubes. All right, so there's our kernel of popcorn. And we're just going to Control D, move it out a little bit, Control D. you can find some actual hi-fi popcorn assets. I'm just showing you kind of a quick method to prototype. Oops. I want to duplicate my kernel. All right, so this is fine. This is our handful of popcorn. So we're going to create empty. We'll say handful. Put all those in there. All right, so now I'm going to drag this down into my assets folder to make a little, just like one little falling there. One thing we forgot is to add our collider. So we are going to add a sphere collider here. And let's go ahead and edit that collider. Obviously way too big. Yeah, right about there. We do need to move that to 0. I actually want to move these over just a bit. All right, you get the idea. This is our handful, and we want our collider right there. Perfect. So now we need to do a few things. First things first, I want this handful to be at 0, 0, 0 so that it spawns right at that spawn point. And we'll go ahead and go to overrides, apply all. And another thing we want to do is we want to add a tag here. We're going to go to add tag, add, and I already have one there called popcorn, but I would say go ahead and just add one called popcorn. And then make sure you go to your tag menu after you create it and add that popcorn tag. Okay. So we've updated our overrides. We're going to say apply all. Delete it from the scene, and we've got our popcorn prefab here. We do need to add a few more components. So we're going to go to, we want to make sure that interactable is on there. So we'll say actions default on attach. I'm going to say, instead of hide hand on attach, I'm just going to say hide controller on attach, and that way we still see the hand itself. And then I'm going to add another component. I'm going to say destroy on detached from hand. And so that means when we put it up to our mouth, we are going to basically detach it from our hand and then destroy that instance of it. All right, so this is, I think, everything we need for our popcorn. So go ahead and save and go back. And so now we need to actually trigger the popcorn there. So we're going to come back here. Now we have our prefab. So we can drag this over into our spawn and attach to hand. And by the way, obviously this doesn't just apply to popcorn, right? You can do it with anything. And we're going to come up here to on hand hover. We're going to hit plus. We're going to drag the script here up there. So you can see popcorn mound, which is what we're affecting. The script on there called spawn and attach to hand. Go to the drop down, spawn and attach to hand, spawn and attach. It's also going to ask for the hand right here. So once again, we're going to drag our right hand into there. Okay, great. So at this point, if we reach in there, as soon as we reach in, it's going to spawn a handful of popcorn, and we should be able to pull it out. So pretty good stuff. Now, obviously we want to pull it up to our face and have it kind of eat it. So if you expand your player prefab and you expand your follow head, you'll see a head collider. And the head collider is basically going to focus right around wherever the headset is. So we're going to go ahead and add component. And we actually need to make our own script here. So we're going to call this one eat popcorn. Say create and add. Double click to open up our script in Visual Studio. All right, we need to do a few things here. First, we need to say using uppercase V valve dot VR, and you'll see it is starting to fill in for us, dot interaction system, semicolon. We're going to delete everything that it pre-populates with. We're going to say public uppercase hand. We're going to say my hand, semicolon. And now we want to say, we're going to treat that collider as a trigger. So we want to say on trigger enter, and it fills in for us already, right? On trigger enter, we're going to say if other, meaning the thing that came, the other object that came into the collider, into the trigger, other dot game object dot tag. So if the other game object has the tag equals popcorn, then what do we want to do? Well, we want to say my hand dot detach object, and you'll see here that if we start to do parentheses, it says, okay, put in a game object. So whatever object you want to detach, in this case, we want to do the one that hit the collider. And then restore original parent, true or false. We're going to say false there because the original parent is the hand itself. So so the object we're going to destroy or detach is going to say other dot game object. So again, the object that we just had. And then no parent. We're just going to say false. So now we go ahead and hit save, and that right there should be everything. So let's go ahead and give it a try and see what we get. All right, so you can see here, we're going to reach out. Swap my hands here. We'll reach out, and there we go. As soon as it spawns, now it's here, but I'll say that the popcorn looks really tiny. And also if we pull it up to our face, it's not disappearing, right? So what's going on? Well, first things first, that popcorn's really tiny, so we need to fix that. Secondly, I never set this head collider to reference the hand. So we need to go in here into player and drag that right hand over here. And then for the head collider, you want to make sure that you have it set to is trigger. So if it's set to is trigger, we drag our hand over. We should be able to do that now. Now I do want to make our popcorn handful a bit bigger. Just because right now it doesn't really feel like popcorn. And then save. And then finally, I felt like this object attachment point was a little far from the hand. So I'm just going to drag it just a little closer. And hit save. And now let's try it one more time. Well, and you can see, whoops, I accidentally started with it there, but this is feeling a bit better here. Right? It feels like I've actually got some popcorn in my hand. Probably still a little small. I can make it a little bigger. And you'll notice there, as soon as I pull it up to my head, it goes away. So again, back down and in. More popcorn, eat. More popcorn, eat. Now there's just two little tweaks I'm going to make from here. As I said, I don't really like the size of the popcorn, so I'm going to make that a little bit bigger still. Grab that, scale, save, go back. I am going to move the object attachment point even further, just a little bit closer, a little bit down. Save. And then I want to do one more thing. I want to have it make like an eating noise when I bring it up to the mouth, just because it's going to make it feel a lot more realistic for the user. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say right click, audio source, and I'll just call this one sound effect eating. Oops. Okay. And I've got this crunching noise here, and I'm going to drag that up into the audio clip. Great. And so now I want to go back to my eat popcorn script, and I'm going to say public audio source with a capital A. I'll call this one eat sound. So now I want to say on trigger enter, eat sound dot play. Okay. So now let's just give that one more try. Oh, I need to actually drag that reference over. So sound effect eating, we're going to say play on awake. We don't want that, right? We only want it to do it when we trigger. And then I'm going to go to my head collider, and we'll see that eat sound right there. Drag that over, save, and let's try here. Feeling much better about the size of the popcorn. Feels like I'm really, holding it now. And sure enough, really disgusting eating sounds, but hey, you get the idea, right? Now, if I really wanted to finesse this, maybe I'd do an animation where each of the kernels goes away first and then the hand reappears. The other thing I would say is that in this particular play scenario, I'd probably not show the controllers here on the player. Let's see, hand, use hover sphere. Yeah, I'd have to look through this one. Right render model. Let's look at this right render model prefab. There we go. Display controller by default. So if you go into this right render model prefab, display controller, no. We can do left render model slim prefab, display controller, no. Hit control save, and now when I hit play, you'll see it's just my hands. So I can reach out, grab and eat popcorn. So pretty convincing simulation there. I mean, for me being there, obviously I'm not chewing, but it feels like I'm actually reaching into a bucket grabbing something. So Anyway, hope this shows you guys. Obviously, for the popcorn team, shows you how to do that. But for anyone else, this doesn't have to be popcorn. This can be anything else you want to grab, as if you're pulling something out. So, happy experimenting, and hope you're all having a good week.